Madam Mayor, we are now live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the full council at the London Borough of Hillingdon. This virtual meeting is also being broadcast simultaneously on the council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. And I would like to welcome all those members of the public who are joining us via that medium. My name is Councillor Teji Barnes, the Mayor of Hillingdon, and as Mayor, I will be chairing the meeting tonight. I have alongside me at a safe distance the Head of Democratic Services, Lloyd White. The rest of the members of the council are joining us from their homes. You are all very welcome. You may have noted from the agenda that we will shortly be conducting a roll call. Please refer to your agenda and order of business throughout the meeting, as it will guide you through the business tonight, and there is a lot of business tonight. Before we start, I would like to emphasise some important online housekeeping rules for everyone who is present. I would like to remind you to please ensure any mobile phones around you are on silent. Please keep your microphone muted when not speaking, and then unmute to speak only if called upon by myself or the Head of Democratic Services. You should be imagining that you are all in the council chamber. The same rules apply. That only one person should speak at a time. That the Code of Conduct rules apply equally to this virtual meeting as to when we meet in person. I expect an immaculate standard of behaviour. That if you are speaking tonight, and you should have already indicated to the Head of Democratic Services that you wish to do so, please keep it brief and to the point. The traditional timer is in operation at this end, and I will be reminding you when your time is almost up. In terms of technical meeting control, if any councillor leaves the virtual meeting partway through for a period of time, for instance, they have lost a connection, I will continue the meeting unless we are not quorate, which is 17 councillors. I will now move to the first item on the agenda, which is apologies of absence, and ask the Head of Democratic Services to read out any apologies received, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, councillors. I have just one apology for absence, Councillor Bliss, who is having trouble joining, but if she joins, then we have no apologies.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, the minutes. Councillor Sweeting, I believe you would like to move an amendment to the minutes as set out in the order of business on page 1. Councillor Sweeting?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move an amendment to the minutes of the last meeting, as it appears on the order of business, which will provide a complete record of my question from the last meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan?
I'd like to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So to confirm the minutes of the 19th of November 2020, which you all have sight of, I shall take it that they are approved with the above amendment moved by Councillor Sweeting, unless any member indicates that they would like to move a further amendment or challenge the accuracy. Thank you. Agenda item 3. Lloyd White, could you conduct the roll call and the declarations of interest, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening again, councillors. As usual, I shall be calling each member in turn, alphabetical order, and if you could unmute, confirm that you are present, and if you have any declarations of interest in the business tonight, state them. If you don't have any declarations of interest, you don't need to say that. So, starting at the beginning, Councillor Ahmad Walana. Councillor,
good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you,
Can you hear
Councillor.
me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much. Councillor Allen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Arnold.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bianco.
Good evening, Lloyd. I am present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Birra.
Good evening, Lloyd, and Happy New Year to you, and I'm present.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. Councillor Bliss, did you make it on? Doesn't look like it. Councillor Bridges.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brightman.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you so much. Councillor Burrows.
Good
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you so much. Councillor Chapman.
Good evening, Lloyd. Yes, I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tubadar.
Good evening, Lloyd. I am present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cooper. Councillor Cooper, are you present? Okay, I'll come back to you in case you're having trouble connecting. Councillor Cawthorne.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Lloyd. I am present.
Thank you. Councillor Curling.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dennis.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor DeVille.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you so much. Councillor Dillon.
Good evening, Lloyd. Good evening, everybody. I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dott. Councillor Dott not there. Oh, he's there. Right. Okay. Councillor Duncan.
Yes, good evening, Lloyd and everyone. I am present.
Thank you so much. Councillor Edwards.
Good evening, Lloyd and everyone. I am present.
Thank you. Councillor Edgington.
Good evening, one and all. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Farley.
Good evening, Lloyd. Present. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flynn.
Good evening, Lloyd and everyone else. Yes, I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner. Councillor Gardner, I know you're there. I've seen you. Okay. Councillor Goddard. Councillor Goddard, are you present?
Hello, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you so much. Councillor Graham.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you so much. Councillor Hagger.
Good evening, Lloyd. Good evening, everyone. I am present.
Thank you. Councillor Hensley.
Good evening, all. Yes, and I am present.
Thank you very much. Councillor Higgins. Councillor Higgins, are you present?
Good evening, Lloyd.
Thank
good evening,
you.
Lloyd. I'm present. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Councillor Horangi.
Evening, Lloyd. Hi, everyone. Good to be back. I'm here. I'm present.
Very good to see you, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Kaufman.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Lachmana.
Good evening, all. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Lavery.
Good evening, Lloyd and everyone. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Lewis.
Good evening, Lloyd and everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Makwana.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you very much. Councillor Markham. Councillor Markham, are you with us? Okay. One we might have to come back to. Councillor Mathers.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Melvin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present.
Thank you so much. Councillor Milani.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Douglas Mills.
I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Richard Mills.
Good evening, I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Money.
I am present.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Good evening, Lloyd. Everyone, I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Morse.
Good evening, Lloyd. I am present.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nelson.
Good evening, Lloyd. Happy New Year to everyone. I'm present.
Thank you, Councillor, and to you. Councillor O'Brien.
Good evening, present.
Thank you. Councillor Oswell.
Good evening, Lloyd and all. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Prince.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Sir Ray Puddifoot.
Good evening, Lloyd. Good evening, everybody. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Radia.
Good evening, Lloyd. I am present.
Thank you very much. Councillor Riley.
Good evening, Lloyd. Good evening, everybody. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Rodriguez.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Sansapori.
Good evening, everybody. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Seaman Digby.
Good evening. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Simmons.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Singh.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Stead. I believe you are present on the telephone. Councillor Sullivan.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Sweeting.
Good evening, Lloyd. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Tuckwell.
Good evening, all. I am present.
Thank you. Councillor Yarrow.
Good evening, Lloyd and everyone. I'm present.
Thank you. Mr. Deputy Mayor?
Good evening, Lloyd. I am present.
Thank you very much. Madam Mayor, I can see you are there. I assume you have no declarations of interest. Can I just go back on a couple of them that we didn't get? Councillor Cooper, are you there? Okay. Councillor Dott, are you there? Councillor Gardner, we didn't hear you, though I know you are present. And Councillor Markham.
I am here, honestly.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Markham, was that you? Okay. In addition, Madam Mayor, the officers present are the Chief Executive, the Corporate Director of Finance, the Corporate Director of Social Care, the Director of Planning, Environment, Education and Community Services, the Director of Infrastructure, Transport and Building Services, the Director of Corporate Resources and Services, the Borough Solicitor, Mark Braddock, Nikki O'Halloran, Morgan Einan and Beth Rainey. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Lloyd. Agenda item 4, report from Democratic Services. Part 1, the temporary suspension of the council procedure rules for the current virtual council meeting only. Councillor Puddifoot.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are 8 items contained within the report of Head of Democratic Services, and I will move the first 4 of them. And as you rightly say, the first item relates to the temporary suspension of council procedure rules. The recommendation is that under Council Procedure Rule 26(1), Council agrees to temporarily suspend the specific council procedure rules set out in this report for the purpose of holding this virtual council meeting only. I formally move that recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Bianco.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally second.
Thank you. There are no other speakers, so I will assume the recommendation is approved unless there are any members who wish to indicate otherwise now. Thank you. So we should go on to part 2, the urgent implementation of decisions. Councillor Puddifoot.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Recommendation 2 is that Council note the urgency decisions taken since the last meeting of Council on the 19th November 2020. There are 4 decisions as detailed on the order paper for noting. The third item is a statement from myself. Madam Mayor, tonight I'm stepping down as leader of Hillingdon Council. My resignation will take effect after I have voted on behalf of the Conservative group on the recommendation to appoint Councillor Ian Edwards as leader of the council. I'm now in my 21st year as leader of the council, and it would not have occurred to any of us 20 months ago, let alone 20 years ago, that this country, and indeed the whole world, will be facing such a challenge to our health and well-being brought about by COVID-19. As an organisation that I leave as leader tonight, it's unrecognisable from the council that I was elected to lead in the year 2000. Hillingdon Council is now recognised as one of the best councils in the country. And whilst the credit for achieving that is undoubtedly down to having a clear, unambiguous direction of travel from a Conservative administration, delivering on its promise of putting residents first, year in, year out, I could not leave office tonight without paying tribute and saying thank you to others that have played an integral part in making Hillingdon Council the success that it is today. As I've said many times at past council meetings, we now have some of the best staff in local government working in Hillingdon, from Democratic Services, who keep us all in order, to health and social care, refuse and recycling collectors, green spaces, finance, the contact centre, housing, transport, legal and ICT, to name just a few. And the past 10 months have really demonstrated that, and I thank them all. I thank those in the Conservative group that I have worked with over the years. I've been fortunate to lead an administration that is made up of councillors with individual skills, but also with the essential attribute of having the ability to work together as a team. In any well-functioning democratically elected council, the opposition party plays an important part. Over the years, as leader of the council, I've witnessed 9 changes in the leadership of the Labour group, and we have shown each other mutual respect for our respective roles. I would like to say thank you to the current leader of the opposition, Councillor Peter Curling, for his common sense and understanding approach to continuing to operate an efficient council at this difficult time. Mike Usher and more recently Mo Kashid were of the same disposition. Finally, may I say thank you to all the residents groups and charities that work with this council to make Hillingdon a nice place to live. Madam Mayor, as I said earlier, I will cease to be leader of Hillingdon Council when I have voted on behalf of the Conservative group to appoint Councillor Ian Edwards as leader of the council. As I step down tonight, I do so in the knowledge that Hillingdon Council has the administration, resources and a first-class staff which will see this council and our residents through the current pandemic and beyond. Thank you all and please stay safe. Returning to agenda item 4, the fourth item in the report is a recommendation that Councillor Ian Edwards be appointed as leader of the council until the annual meeting immediately following the ordinary election of councillors in May 2022. I formally move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Curling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Both on a personal level and on behalf of the Labour Group, I would like to congratulate Councillor Edwards on his election as the Conservative Group leader and now the leader of the council. It has been a pleasure working with him in his relatively short time as a trustee on the Fassnage Memorial Trust, and I know that he's worked well cross-party with the West Drayton councillors when he represented Housekeeping. So notwithstanding our political differences, we look forward to working with Councillor Edwards on the issues that unite our political divide, such as the opposition of the third runway at Heathrow, supporting our residents through the pandemic, and the continuing the groundbreaking and dedicated work of Councillor Jane Palmer and Councillor Janet Duncan in the support of the victims of domestic abuse. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor O'Brien, you reserved your right. Would you like to speak now?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to second the recommendation that Councillor Edwards is appointed as the new leader of the council. Councillor Surrey this evening hands over the baton of leadership to Councillor Edwards. The transition will be smooth. The delivery will be that our residents can rest assured that this administration will continue to move forward together with practiced sound financial management and retaining our focus on putting residents first. Councillor Edwards is a well-respected member of the council and his background and knowledge is fourfold. He has many years of working in public service, having served in a leadership role as Borough Commander within the London Borough. He's also been an officer of this council, therefore has an understanding of the officer's role. He has many years of experience within the voluntary sector, of which I've had the pleasure of working alongside with him within this sector. He has been a ward councillor in both the north and the south of the borough, which brings a further understanding of the dynamics of Hillingdon. I'm confident with the wealth of experience that Councillor Edwards brings with him, puts him in an advantageous position as our new leader. There is always a yin and a yang, and in that I mean that this evening we say farewell to Councillor Sir Ray Puddifoot, who is retiring after just over 20 years as leader. He's the only leader that I have ever known as my time as a councillor, and I wish him well as he challenges all his leadership experience into being... I'm so sorry. Do apologise, I can control everybody apart from my dog. I am ever so sorry about that.
That'll be the dog.
So sorry, he's the only leader that I have known in my time as a councillor, and I wish him well as he challenges all his leadership experience into being a full-time husband, father and grandfather. However, I fear he will have much less authority in his endeavours there. Councillor Edwards has big boots to fill, however. I have no doubt that his feet are big enough. Councillor Edwards has my support to ensure that whether it is continuity or change for the better, we remain focused on the right outcomes, and I look forward to working with him, and I second this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sir Ray Puddifoot, do you have anything further to say?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So, Leader of the Council, Councillor Sir Puddifoot, as the Leader of the Conservative Group, do you approve the recommendation that Councillor Ian Edwards is appointed Leader of the Council?
I do approve that recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Curling, as Leader of the Labour Group, does your group approve the motion?
Agreed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So are there any members at all who would like to vote differently to their group leaders? If so, indicate now. Thank you. So we will move on to part 5. The vote of thanks to the outgoing leader, Councillor Sir Puddifoot. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and colleagues, thank you so much for your very generous and warm comments, and particularly from Councillor O'Brien's dog. They were greatly appreciated. I will now return to my script. Madam Mayor, I am delighted that my first act as leader is to move a vote of thanks to Sir Puddifoot for his many years of exceptional public service and his leadership of the council since the year 2000. In this world of increasingly rapid change, it's almost incomprehensible to me that one person should occupy a senior position in civic leadership for so long. You have to go back 300 years to find the only Prime Minister, Sir Robert Walpole, that served for longer than Sir Ray has been the leader of the council. We previously noted in May 2018 that Sir Ray had then become the longest serving council leader in London. Unusually, in the case of political leaders, after such a long period, Sir Ray's retirement has been at his own choosing, well, maybe influenced by his wife, Lindsay. During Sir Ray's period in office, Hillingdon itself has evolved quite considerably. It's certainly bigger now, having grown by nearly 64,000 residents. And Hillingdon is now far more diverse, with the proportion of residents born outside the UK having doubled during your leadership. Some of the issues just haven't gone away, with Heathrow being on your agenda from the very start with the construction of Terminal 5. And of course, we are all very familiar with your leadership of the fight against the third runway in defence of our residents and environment. Throughout your leadership, Sir Ray, you have shown commitment to improving Hillingdon for its residents. The challenge to deliver in 2010 the first Olympic-sized swimming pool in London for more than 45 years as part of the Hillingdon Leisure Centre complex would have been very considerable. And when the RAF moved out of Uxbridge, it presented Hillingdon with a fantastic opportunity, which you used to provide the borough with the largest new public green space in London since the Olympic Park opened. Of course, we cannot overlook your vision and leadership in delivering the Battle of Britain Exhibition and Visitor Centre, a multi-award-winning building and now a much valued national asset. But to permit me to add just a few more business as usual achievements under your leadership. 32 schools expanded, 5 rebuilt, 4 brand new schools, 8 bowls clubs refurbished, nearly 300 chrysalis programme improvements, 4 new skate parks, all our war memorials refurbished, 3 heritage sites refurbished. I could go on, but I will conclude with our famous 17 libraries kept open and refurbished, and now 60 green flags for our parks and open spaces. I doubt that any one person has made or will in the future make such a long-lasting impression on the fabric of this borough. It is not only me that recognises your achievement and success. In 2002, at your first election as leader of the council, our residents were unsure, returning no overall control. But 4 years later, the electorate decided that they liked what they saw, and they gave you and the Conservatives a most emphatic majority. And you have achieved the same again in 2010 and 2014 and 2018. Sir Ray, it is most regrettable that the present circumstance prevent us celebrating your retirement in a more fitting way than by speeches over the internet. Once circumstances allow, we will put that right. Sir Ray, you have been a remarkable leader of the council. Your commitment to that office, your iron grip of the money, your focus on the residents, and your passion for improving the borough have been exceptional, and you have earned and most definitely deserve the greatest thanks of this chamber. I am sure I speak for all members in wishing you a very happy, contented and fulfilling retirement. Madam Mayor, I move this vote of thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Bianco.
Madam Mayor, thank you. I would like to second this vote of thanks and will speak now. Having been around a while myself, Sir Ray is not the first leader that I've had the privilege of saying goodbye to. He is, however, without doubt, as Ian has just said, both the longest serving leader in the history of this borough and the most effective we have ever had. So no pressure to you, Councillor Edwards. Furthermore, he has managed to lead us from success to success, whilst at the same time cultivating a substantial fan base amongst our residents. I can tell you that dotted around the borough today, there is a large phalanx of people who write to him regularly, praising him for keeping this fine borough in such good shape. And this is from a man who, despite having openly admitted to being a chartered accountant, can still deliver a witty line or some well thought out humour along the way. Seriously though, Sir Ray, what you have achieved in your 20 years in office as our leader is nothing short of remarkable. The year 2000 seems a long time ago now. Then the internet was still dial-up, if you had it at all. Everyone still had a Nokia 6810 phone and couldn't believe how small and light it was. And we had just witnessed Tony Blair holding hands with the Queen at the Millennium Dome. Your leadership started out with an immediate test of your abilities with the arrival of a Section 114 notice delivered the day after you took office. It was a testament to your abilities that you took it in your stride and in the space of a few hours had solved the so-called financial crisis. And that was the beginning of the process which has continued ever since of streamlining and improving this council, which has reaped such rich rewards for the residents of this borough. Today, you leave this council in robust health, the envy of all our neighbours, indeed the envy of most other councils in the UK. I sincerely hope that now you have stepped down, you will have more time for fishing, more time with your family, once they get to know who you are again, and more time to enjoy the finer things of a post-COVID Britain. May I close by sincerely thanking you, therefore, not only on my own behalf, but also on behalf of our many colleagues here and those outside this virtual chamber tonight, who would, I am sure, have liked to have spoken, but were unable. May we thank you for your contribution, which has been outstanding, to the daily lives of the 300,000 people who live in the Borough of Hillingdon. I hope that you will enjoy many years of watching us from the sidelines, hopefully carrying your legacy into the future, but that you will remain available for advice, which I am sure from time to time we will need. Thank you, Sir Ray. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bianco. Councillor Curling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No one can dispute that to be the leader of the council for 20 years is an incredible achievement, especially when that period includes times when the council is in no overall control, as well as times of majority Conservative control. So I offer my sincere best wishes to Councillor Ray Puddifoot on his retirement from his position of civic and public duty. It won't be a surprise to anyone to hear that I have considerable political differences. But at times like this, the words of the late Joe Cox ring so true. There is more that unites us than that which divides us. Hillingdon has a proud record of uniting across the party divide when there are important issues affecting our residents. This can be seen in various forms, from our work in committees and outside bodies and our resolute opposition to the third runway. In more recent times, I'm truly thankful to Ray for the way he has led the council through the COVID pandemic. As I'm sure the public would expect, both he and I have had regular phone calls, and I've been extremely thankful for the updates, for the opportunity to discuss what's going on, offer my opinion and my support for the tremendous effort that the borough and its wonderful staff have put into getting us through this dreadful pandemic. Perhaps one of the most important aspects of the cross-party work that transcends party politics is Hillingdon's approach to the support of victims of domestic abuse. In a recent House of Lords debate on the Domestic Abuse Bill, Lord Randall of Uxbridge paid tribute to Councillor Jane Palmer and Councillor Janet Gardner and the borough as a whole, and I know that Janet Gardner has thanked Ray personally for the support he has given her in the work she's done as the domestic abuse victims advocate. But I would like to put that on record and add my sincere thanks for the support that goes largely unseen. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I support the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We all know the saying about political careers always ending in failure. Well, tonight we have a very notable exception to that. Sir Ray leaves office as leader of Hillingdon at a time of his own choosing and leaves Hillingdon Council in very good political and financial shape as he goes. Ray started his career in public service in Hillingdon long before he became a councillor. He was chairman of the Secondary School Governors Association and the organising force behind the campaign against inappropriate development, the Warner Village site at Hillingdon House Farm. And I first met him when he was bringing the expertise and that profound sense of commitment to putting residents first to the work of being a newly elected ward councillor. And throughout that time, he's shown all of us that he is a man unafraid to stand up for what he believes to be right for the residents of Hillingdon. The campaign against the third runway at Heathrow, transforming Hillingdon Council against sometimes entrenched opposition, and instilling in this organisation a culture that puts residents first, and a willingness to go into the detail to really understand how these decisions make a difference in the lives of all the people that we serve. And perhaps crucially, Madam Mayor, having spent so long, in my own case, in the fields of social services and children's services, Sir Ray has been a leader who has done right by all of our residents, and it's the vulnerable and those facing a time when they are most in need who've been the biggest, although often unseen, beneficiaries of Sir Ray's work. Sir Ray has been a good and faithful servant to all residents of Hillingdon. He has turned Hillingdon Council into a model for others to follow, and he has been an exemplar amongst leaders in local government. It has been a privilege and an honour to serve alongside Sir Ray and to learn so much. And like all colleagues, I wish him the very best for his future, although perhaps the fish may hope he doesn't have as much luck as we all hope that he's going to have.
Thank you, Councillor Simmons. Councillor Hensley.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It's an honour and a pleasure to pay tribute to the achievements of Councillor Sir Ray for his dedication in making Hillingdon a place where people want to live and, more importantly, want to move here to bring up a family. I first became involved with Sir Ray back when an organisation wanted to create a major theme park here in Uxbridge, and where Sir Ray showed his concerns for the environment and the quality of life for the residents of Hillingdon. He was not a councillor at that time. We next came together when I joined the Education Committee as an industrial representative, when Sir Ray was then its vice chairman. Again, Sir Ray demonstrated his concerns for our young people, being also a governor of one of our local schools. When I joined the council, I was conscious of the vision that Sir Ray had for Hillingdon. In those days, it was apparent that for the residents to have pride in their community, the council should also have those goals. We did not have a single corporate image, and our livery reflected that. He set about creating a corporate image, and the mosaic image on the forecourt on the approach to the Civic Centre demonstrates just that. The ward budget and the Christmas programme has enabled residents to be involved in developing their community in meeting their needs. Looking around the borough, the benefits are now well established. He also valued the youth organisations across the borough and promoted their work and supported them financially during his leadership. In particular, as an example, he assisted 2 of our teenagers to travel to Australia, which enabled them to not only represent their youth organisation, but Hillingdon as well. I was able to meet one of those last summer and to find that he had turned his life around and is now in full employment. Saray, being an angler himself, encouraged our young people to take part on the annual day on the Little Britain Lake. For those who have been there and supported this event will again appreciate his engagement with the community. It is well known and appreciated at senior military levels the support that he has given to those who have served our nation. His commitment in recognising those who made the ultimate sacrifice is also well documented. The RAF bunker and the visitor centre again has put us on the national and international map, supported by visitors coming from far and wide. Often the most vulnerable in our society are forgotten, and you can always judge any society on how they respect them. To this end, Saray, being the older person's champion, gave them a platform for their voice to be heard. Many in our community have now benefited from this forum. He has also recognised that when the financial problems hit this country, the pensioners will be the hardest hit due to their fixed income. It was from this that the no council rate were increased for the over 65s. And again, this is a credit to his leadership. All I can say is well done, Saray, and it's been a pleasure working with you as your ward colleague. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards, is there anything else you'd like to add or finish with?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, in that case, Councillor Edwards, as leader of the council and behalf of the Conservative group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the Conservative group approves the motion.
Leader of the Labour group, Councillor Curling, on behalf of the Labour group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we approve the motion.
Thank you. So I will take it that that motion has been recommended and approved, unless there are any members at the moment who would like to indicate otherwise. Part 6, statement from the Leader of the Council, Councillor Edwards, and appointment of Cabinet. Councillor Edwards, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My message to Council and residents tonight is that although there has been a change in the Leader of the Council, there will be no change in the services that we deliver. Under any Conservative leadership, you can be assured of strong financial management, as that gives us the resources to provide the services and facilities that residents value. The Council budget for next year has been published for consultation, and that evidences our ability and commitment to continue to deliver the services residents enjoy. We will continue to stay resolutely focused on putting residents first. We will continue to improve our roads, our pavements, parks and open spaces, libraries, leisure centres and other community facilities. We will also continue to defend our environment, resisting inappropriate development, securing mitigation of the impacts of High Speed 2 and continuing the defence of our environment and the residents against the third runway. My vision sees a local authority renowned not only for its financial management and exemplary services and facilities, but also one that is the leading edge of the innovation and use of technology. Behind the scenes, we will make further use of technology to improve our services by speeding up processes and reducing administrative costs. The savings made will be reinvested in our frontline services or will help to keep our council tax rises to a minimum. Presently, our focus and priority is beating the pandemic, supporting residents and local businesses during this difficult time, and working with our health partners to help us return to normal as quickly as possible. The residents of this borough have shown an enormous capacity to come together to support each other during the pandemic. Many have volunteered to help frontline services, and others have quietly looked out for their neighbours, helping them when they have been required to isolate by the regulations or for their own protection. Our voluntary and community sector has played a key role in coordinating and shaping this community response. And I want us to build on this experience and to work even more closely with our partners to deliver the support that our residents need. Just as we developed and implemented a strategy to support older people to live better lives in Hillingdon, so we will find ways to better help our young people and young families to reach their full potential. The availability and standard of housing presents a challenge that we will confront, and my intention is to increase the supply of affordable housing. We will work harder and faster with our police colleagues to ensure every neighbourhood is safe and that community harms are tackled as quickly and effectively as possible. Our commitment to protecting and improving our environment will be undiminished, and we will quickly develop a costed plan to deliver on our climate change pledge we made this time last year. It is a great honour to be appointed the leader of your borough, and I pledge that I will work with the same integrity, commitment and determination that you have become used to in your council leader, and to ensure that Hillingdon remains amongst the most desirable of London boroughs to live in. Finally, council is asked to note the appointment of the deputy leader and cabinet as set out at 4.7 in the papers. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to part 7 and changes to committee memberships. Lloyd White. No.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to note, before moving to Councillor Edwards, that on the agenda there were 2 positions that were to follow, and they have been filled by on Corporate Services, Commerce and Communities Policy Overview Committee, Councillor Teji to replace Councillor Goddard, and on the Audit Committee, Councillor Morgan to be a substitute.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will move the recommendation as at part 7 on the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Bianco.
And I am happy to second that recommendation.
Thank you. So, Leader of the Council, Councillor Edwards, on behalf of the Conservative Group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we approve the motion.
Leader of the Labour Group, Councillor Curling, on behalf of the Labour Group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we approve the motion.
Okay, so I will take it that the recommendation is approved, unless there are any other members who would like to vote against. If you do so, you need to speak now. Thank you. So we're going to go on to part 8, committee chairmanships. Lloyd White.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members will be familiar when we normally appoint chairman and vice chairman to committees. There's a lot of bobbing up and down. What we're going to do this evening, I will ask the members of each of the 9 bodies shown on the order paper if they have any objections to or other nominations to the proposed chairman and vice chairman as shown. So first to the Executive Scrutiny Committee members, the proposed chairman is Councillor Burrows, the proposed vice chairman is Councillor Bridges. Are there any objections to or are there nominations?
I would like to nominate Councillor Curling.
Thank you. Councillor Prince has nominated Councillor Curling. Is that seconded?
I would like to formally second that.
Thank you. So are there any other nominations or speakers? Okay, Madam Mayor, so that is effectively an amendment to that. So, Madam Mayor, you need to ask Councillor Edwards on behalf of the Conservative Group and then Councillor Curling on behalf of the Labour Group if they approve Councillor Curling as the proposed chairman of the Executive Scrutiny Committee.
So, Councillor Edwards, do you accept Councillor Curling as the
chairman
of the Scrutiny Group?
Madam Chairman, the Conservatives do not agree to that proposal.
And Councillor Curling.
Yep. And Councillor Curling, do you approve the position as chairman? Of course, I mean.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Labour Group does approve that amendment.
That falls.
Pardon?
That falls.
Okay, unfortunately, that falls.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are there any other nominations or objections? In which case I take that Councillor Burrows and Councillor Bridges are elected. To the External Services Select Committee, proposed chairman Councillor Dennis and proposed vice chairman Councillor Radia. Any other nominations or objections? Take it that's agreed. Social Care, Housing and Public Health Policy Overview Committee, proposed chairman Councillor Cawthorne, pardon me. Any other nominations or objections? No. Thank you. To the North Planning Committee, proposed chairman, Councillor Higgins, proposed vice chairman, Councillor Morgan. Any other nominations or objections? Thank you. Major Applications Planning Committee, proposed chairman, Councillor Higgins. Any other nominations or objections? Thank you. The Major Applications Planning Subcommittee, proposed Vice Chairman Councillor Higgins. Any other nominations or objections? Thank you. To the Appointments Committee, the proposed Chairman Councillor Edwards. Any other nominations or objections? Thank you. The Audit Committee, proposed Vice Chairman Councillor Flynn. Any other nominations?
Madam Mayor, could I just make the point that I'm not sure that all members of the committee have been advised of this meeting? The Audit Committee, the Chairman, I'm not sure has been advised.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If that's the case, then we'll check that after with the meeting, if that's okay with you, Councillor Edgington, and if so, we'll place this on the first item on the next meeting of the Audit Committee. The Licensing Committee, proposed Chairman Councillor Arnold and proposed Vice Chairman Councillor Chapman. Any other nominations or objections? Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So we'll move on to part 9, the appointment of a council champion. And Councillor Edwards, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm recommending to Council that Sir Ray Puddifoot be appointed as the council champion for the armed forces to allow him to continue with the valuable work he's been doing with our armed forces and the Polish Air Force. Ceremonies that were scheduled to occur during his leadership have had to be postponed, and as council champion, he will be better able to represent the borough when those ceremonies are eventually held. I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Bianco, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I formally second.
Thank you. So there's no other speakers notified to this late item. So I'm going to come to you first, Leader of the Council, Councillor Edwards. On behalf of the Conservative Group, do you approve this motion?
We approve this motion, Madam Mayor.
Leader of the Labour Group, Councillor Curling, on behalf of the Labour Group, do you approve this motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we approve the motion.
Thank you. I will take it that the motion is recommended then, is approved, unless there are any other members who'd like to indicate otherwise. Thank you. We will go on to agenda item 5, which is the Mayor's announcements. I would like to start with my announcements. There has been a lot of wonderful things said about the outgoing leader, Councillor Sir Ray Puddifoot. So I would like to reiterate most of the things that have been said, but I'd also like to add that I would like to thank Councillor Sir Ray Puddifoot for his long and successful time at the helm. And I hope you enjoy your freedom that you will now have in your retirement. And to the new leader of the council, Councillor Ian Edwards, I'd like to give you my congratulations and reiterate what Councillor O'Brien said earlier. I wish you luck, and I'm sure that you know you have very large boots to fill. This evening, about 20 minutes ago, they would have probably been a clap for heroes that has just restarted. So I thought that seeing as we are in the meeting this evening and we couldn't have done it, I wanted to take this time to thank many of the services and volunteers and charities and individuals that are working hard to make our lives better. I want to thank the Fassonage Memorial Trust, the Useley and Westrayton Food Bank, Bell Farm Christian Centre, the Adia Shakri Mataji Temple, and all the other food banks that supply food to our hungry adults and children. I want to thank Hillingdon Samaritans, Age UK, Hillingdon for All, and my own charity, the Centre for ADHD and Autism Support, for the continuous communication with all age groups who are suffering emotionally, feeling isolated, and in desperate need of a hug. I want to thank Halo and Bereavement Care for taking the time to make calls and to listen to all those unfortunate people that have lost a loved one during the pandemic to the pandemic. There are so many services provided by the council that deserve thanks. The waste team, the social care services, the dementia team, and the children care services, to name a few. And charities, societies, care home staff around the borough that deserve recognition for their hard work. Plus the individuals such as the next door neighbour, the friend, who just checks on that person who is struggling by just getting their shopping or saying hello. I cannot forget our committed teaching staff and parents who are now teachers, and obviously our brilliant NHS staff. I know there are many more committed and hard-working volunteers that I have not mentioned, but they are all recognised in this message. As we continue through our third lockdown with the pandemic still raging, I want to say a heartfelt thank you to you, and I want you to know that you are very much appreciated and that this is your Thursday clap for heroes. Part 2. Leader of the Council, Councillor Edwards, could you please update members now on the current situation of the COVID pandemic response by the Council? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I very much wish to join with you on the support for our NHS staff and how appropriate it was to have that clap for them this evening. The resurgence of the pandemic has required the Council to further adapt, but it continues to provide services to residents other than those services required to be closed under the lockdown restrictions. Our investment in mobile technology enables seamless remote working by staff not required to attend the Civic Centre, and all meetings are now being held virtually. Since November, there has been no significant change in our financial situations, with a net in-year underspend of 3.3 million up to November, and unallocated reserves are projected to be 31.2 million at the end of the year. In addition, there are earmarked reserves of 9.1 million set aside to manage unfunded COVID-related expenditure. This is estimated to be sufficient to prevent any calls on general reserves. Colleagues, the increasing seriousness of the spread of the new variant COVID virus has been national news for some weeks, and the rise in hospitalisations and deaths is of great concern, and the situation locally is no different. The infection rate, which is a 7-day moving average per 100,000 residents, yesterday was 799, which is double the rate at the last meeting of a council. The positivity rate, which is the percentage of residents tested that are found to have COVID, has risen from 9.8% to 22.3% over the same period. This is an important measure, as the higher the positivity rate, the more prevalent the infection amongst the community. The rate has been above 20% since the turn of the year, and it is too early to see any emerging trend that this may be lowering locally. It is sombre to note that since Council last met, a further 81 Hillingdon residents have died, having had a coronavirus diagnosis within the previous 28 days. This takes the total number of such deaths to 417. As the Mayor pointed out, our health services are under enormous pressure, with full occupancy of all the intensive care and acute respiratory beds in Hillingdon Hospital. To help reduce the pressure on our nurses and doctors, we must all follow government guidelines and obey the regulations. A great deal of our residents and businesses are fully complying, and they deserve our backing by the Council being tougher with those that are not. To this end, I have required that we work even more closely with the police to identify and tackle residents and businesses that are putting lives at risk by ignoring the rules. Officers will now immediately issue fixed penalty notices for the most flagrant breaches, and in all other cases after a single warning has been given and ignored. Unfortunately, circumstances are such that the temporary mortuary at Breakspear Crematorium, which is run by Westminster City Council, has now been re-established and will become operational next week. On a more positive note, we are providing and staffing testing centres at the Civic Centre and the Beck Theatre for use by asymptomatic staff and residents, and I do commend this service to you. Council staff required to attend work are being encouraged to be tested every 3 to 5 days. And I will address the issue of vaccination later, if I may, Madam Mayor, when I'll answer a question that is put. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards, of course. So we should go on to agenda item 6 and the statement of licensing policy. Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The recommendation is that the statement of licensing policy be adopted with effect from today's date to the 14th of January 2026. I hope I'll be making the same application then, and I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Arnold.
Madam Mayor, I second this and reserve my rights.
Thank you. So there are no other speakers. Was there anything you wanted to add now, Councillor Arnold, before I go to the vote?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay then. Leader of the Council, Councillor Edwards, on behalf of the Conservative Group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Conservatives approve this motion.
Thank you. Leader of the Labour Group, Councillor Curling, on behalf of the Labour Group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we approve the motion.
Okay, thank you. I will take it that the recommendation is approved then, unless any member indicates now that they wish to vote against. Agenda item 7, the Council Tax Base and Business Rates Forecast, 2021 to 2022. Councillor Goddard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a statutory requirement that we report our calculation of the council tax base as at 30th November 2020 and provide a forecast of business rates for the 2021-22 financial year by the 31st of January 2021. This, of course, is an annual and eagerly anticipated event within the council's annual calendar, as I know how much members relish the opportunity to reperform the calculations for the tax base using the formula as set out within the pack. Madam Mayor, the tax base calculation for the 21-22 budget indicates a total number of Band D equivalent properties of 102,071. And I must point out that this represents an overall reduction from the base at the equivalent point last year of 36. Whilst we've continued to enjoy growth in properties of 1,144 during the year, we have sustained a temporary reduction of 1,180 as a result of the increased number of residents taking advantage of the council tax reduction scheme, largely as a direct consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. I need to assure everyone that this reduction will not result in a loss of income to the council, as the COVID-19 impact upon the tax base is confirmed to be fully funded by central government. This support was anticipated in the 21-22 consultation budget, which was published in December last, and therefore there are no changes required to this position. Turning to the business rates retained by the council, this is projected at a level of 55,105,000 for the 21-22 financial year, and this indeed is also consistent with the consultation budget, which was issued in December 2020. I therefore move the 4 recommendations set out at the head of agenda item 7 in the pack. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I formally second and have nothing to add.
Thank you. So there's no other speakers. We will go to the vote. Leader of the Council, Councillor Edwards, on behalf of the Conservative Group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Conservatives approve the motion.
Leader of the Labour Group, Councillor Curling, on behalf of the Labour Group, do you approve the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we approve the motion.
Thank you. So I will take it that the recommendation is approved unless there are any other members who wish to indicate otherwise. Okay, so before we go to agenda item 8, we have got a comment from the Head of Democratic Services, Lloyd White.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of items to follow up on from earlier in the meeting. Members may have seen a question on the chat about members' allowances for champions, which was on the top of page 6 of the order of business. That item actually is for information referring to the appointment of council champion. It is for information for members when considering the appointment of the council champion. So the full scheme of members' allowances will be on the next meeting of the council in February. Just following up on a couple of other things, Councillor Edgington asked about the appointment of the Audit Committee Vice Chairman. I think he's quite correct. I think that will now be an item on the first item on the next meeting of the Audit Committee. And finally, the moving of an alternative chairman for the Executive Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Curling was asked to vote on behalf of the Labour members on that committee. Unfortunately, Councillor Edwards should not be the one voting on behalf of the Conservative members on that committee. So if I could perhaps ask you to ask Councillor Burrows, who is the nominated chairman for that committee, if he would like to vote against the nomination of Councillor Curling on that committee. Councillor Burrows.
Thank you.
Councillor Burrows.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Lloyd. Yes, I vote against that proposal that's put forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We will now go to agenda item 8, which are the questions for this evening. Could I remind all members that are asking a question to read your question out in full? And if you do have a supplementary, could you make sure it is brief? Councillor Sweeting, question 8.1, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Please could the Cabinet member provide an audit of capital funds spent on footway repairs in Hillingdon for financial years 18-19, 19-20 and the current financial year 2021, including the tranche of monies as reported in the Capital Release Report of November 2020, broken down into wards currently served by 1 Conservative councillors and 2 Labour councillors.
Thank you. Councillor Goddard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Sweeting, for your question. I'm sure Councillor Sweeting will appreciate that to carry out an audit of this information would be both time-consuming and costly. And so therefore what I propose is that what we provide actually is an extraction of the information that you require, Councillor Sweeting, from the financial records. And given the detailed nature of this information request, I feel it would be inappropriate to read it out at council. So I propose to send you an email with the detailed analysis. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sweeting, so do you have a supplementary question for the Cabinet member, Councillor Goddard?
Yes, I do, and I can clarify things for the Cabinet member, because why is there such a very significant difference between the amount of money which in the last 3 years of the council has spent on pavement repairs in wards served by Conservative councillors compared to wards served by Labour councillors, as highlighted so very starkly in the November the 5th, 2020 Capital Release Report, when only 4 of the 42 footpaths earmarked for repair were in Labour wards, resulting in some 91% or over 4.7 million of the capital monies being spent in Conservative wards, compared to a mere 9% or less than 400k allocated to Labour wards. And unfortunately, this follows the same pattern of the preceding 2 years, where 90% and 88% of funds were spent in Conservative wards, compared to just 10% and 12% respectively spent in Labour wards. So do residents in Conservative wards happen to crack their pavements more easily than residents in Labour wards? Or is there some more obvious reason? As Labour councillors report pavement dilapidation regularly and thoroughly, but often to no avail. I would like a written response to this subsequent question, as well as my initial question, please.
Councillor Goddard.
Thank you. Yes, I don't want to second guess the answers that may be provided, but what I would say at this stage is that it is my experience that such work is carried out as a result of direct requests by ward councillors and indeed by residents who are represented by ward councillors making members' inquiries. Certainly, I am not aware that there has been a track record of refusals of requests made by opposition members. And so therefore, I would suggest that actually this is probably a matter of proactivity on the part of the Conservative members as opposed to the Labour members. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, question 8.2, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Community Infrastructure Levy, Sill, has been collected for some years now, despite repeated requests by individual councillors and planning and respot committees for this information to be released on a ward basis, the same as for Section 106 reporting. This has not happened. The information is available by ward. Could the Cabinet member please arrange for its release by ward to all councillors by the end of this month? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Lavery. Councillor Lavery? You seem to be on mute.
I did. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I forgot that bit. And thank you to Councillor Duncan for my first Cabinet member question. I'm sure it'd be helpful to members, particularly to those who are not familiar with planning, to give some background. Section 106 and Section S278 legal agreements relate to the planning harm arising from a particular development. They cover a range of matters, for example, highway improvement schemes, affordable housing, improvements to parks, or air quality issues. The money is spent in or close to the ward where the development occurs. The Community Infrastructure Levy, Sill, is a general levy paid by developers based on the size of the development towards the council cost of making improvements to community infrastructure. These contributions are used by the council to make capital improvements to facilities, but given the nature of these facilities, they may not be in the ward where the development occurred. There is a statutory requirement to publish an annual Sill statement, and the council has met its statutory requirement to publish this statement on its website for each of the last 5 financial years. These statements set out details of the types of community infrastructure that have been funded across the borough, using Hillingdon Sill receipts on projects identified within the capital finance and Chrysalis programmes. The annual Sill report for 2019-20, which will include a comprehensive breakdown of the collection of Sill funding for the year, is already scheduled for presentation to the Residents' Education and Environmental Services Policy Overview Committee in February 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, do you have a supplementary question for Councillor Lavery?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Cabinet Member Lavery for his answer. But I think he will understand that I do understand the basis of Sill. I do understand that money raised in one ward can be spent on infrastructure elsewhere, and that it can be used by people from various wards. What we would like to see is a breakdown by ward. I am told that this is recorded and it is available by ward, so I would like to press for that. I don't want a total, I don't want an aggregate, because I don't think any of us do. And I would just ask him again if he will have a breakdown by ward when it is reported to the respot committee, and that could be released to all councillors or made available to them anyway at the same time, please. Thank you.
Councillor Lavery, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. I think I've already answered your question and given our reply.
Thank you. Councillor Morse, question 8.3, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The subnational population projections dated 2019 confirm that the borough has approximately 42,000 people are in the current highest vaccination priorities of 1 to 5. Is the council able to confirm the number of vaccination sites and transport arrangements needed to minimise the time for this process to be completed and be able to provide weekly reports on the number of people vaccinated as supported by the Prime Minister yesterday.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Councillor Morse. The vaccination rollout is a health-led programme, not led by the local authority. We have been working in partnership with our health colleagues primarily to identify and provide suitable sites for their use as vaccination centres. The vaccination programme is under central NHS command and control. It is expanding daily, and broadly speaking, it is organised into two streams. The first stream is the mass vaccination centres being set up across the country, and these are being organised centrally with no local involvement. Presently, the open units are not ideally located for our residents, the closest ones being in Stevenage, Epsom and the Excel Centre in Docklands. The good news is that this will soon change, as 10 are being set up in the northwest London, of which 3 will be in Hillingdon, providing a high degree of accessibility for our residents. These 3 mass vaccination centres will be at the Winston Churchill Hall, Ruislip, the Compass Centre near Heathrow, and a site yet to be confirmed in the Hayes area. The first 2 should be operational by the 1st of February, and residents must not attend these centres unless called to do so by the NHS. Eventually, our 3 mass vaccination centres alone will have the capacity of 10,000 vaccinations per day. The second stream is coordinated by the North West London Health and Care Partnership, which covers the 8 boroughs of Hillingdon, Brent, Harrow, Hounslow, Ealing, Hammersmith and Fulham, Kensington and Chelsea and Westminster. These community sites are managed locally by primary care networks. Presently, there are 2 community vaccination sites in Hillingdon, at Ruislip Young People's Centre, which opened on the 16th of December, and the Navnat Centre in Hayes, which opened today. These 2 sites have a capacity of 1,375 vaccinations per day. Roving vaccination teams are operating from these community sites to reach care home residents and, in due course, housebound residents. In addition, Hillingdon Hospital is providing a vaccination service for health and social care staff from across the NHS, the council, private providers and charities. The council's social care staff programme started on the 13th of January with the intention of vaccinating all 6,000 frontline staff, including those from private provision, by the 14th of February. Some community pharmacies will also be incorporated into the community stream, and the first pharmacy to open for vaccinations will be in Stockley Park, I am advised. The priority order for vaccinations is determined nationally, and the first tranche from the priority list is to be vaccinated by the 14th of February. This tranche of 41,255 residents consists of residents in care homes for older adults, frontline healthcare and staff, residents over 80, residents over 75, and residents over 70. I've been advised by our community health colleagues that to date 10 of our 36 care homes have been completed, and 23% of our over 80s have been vaccinated. The infrastructure and staffing is coming on stream to markedly increase the rate of vaccination, and steps are being taken to expand capacity even further. Our health colleagues are confident that, subject to reliable supply of the vaccine, Hillingdon will meet this first target at the 14th of February. Council will be advised of subsequent vaccination targets and delivery cohorts, and will monitor the performance against those targets. Officers will be monitoring the situation closely. However, they do not have any details yet around the reporting regime or how frequently updates will be provided by the NHS and to what detail. I have been given assurance that the performance of our local community sites will be reported to us on at least a weekly basis. An emerging issue is the potential number of people not accepting the vaccine when offered. Although there are very few people who have not turned up to their appointment locally, there is anecdotal reports of up to 30% within some groups not making a booking. The council is working with the NHS and other partners to promote the take-up of vaccine and to myth-bust some of the misinformation that is being circulated about this process. Being vaccinated is the best way to protect yourself, friends and families, and others within your community. And I ask all members to use their influence to spread this message amongst their communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Councillor Morse, do you have a supplementary question for the Leader of the Council?
I do, Madam Mayor, and I can't make it completely short. Today, the Daily Telegraph announced a leaked government policy of discharging people to care homes without being tested. Care home providers are deeply concerned about the proposal. Will the Leader of the Council refer this policy changes to the Director of Public Health and report to the Council any potential dangerous consequences? Because we do have a Director of Public Health in the Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Morse, for your supplementary question. I am advised that the Hillingdon has been held up as the model of how to support the discharge from hospital. And we have a very effective step down scheme for patients who are well enough to leave hospital, who are tested positive for COVID. They are not returned to care homes, and neither are they returned to homes where there is a person shielding. Separate arrangements have been made for their safe and supported accommodation within the borough. As I say, this is being held up as a model and is being extended across West London. Thank you.
Thank you. And can I remind Councillor Morse, could you please mute yourself now?
Oh, yeah.
So we go to the last item of the evening, agenda item 9, which is the motions. And I go to Councillor Lackmana, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Fireworks are used by people throughout the year to mark or celebrate different events. Whilst they bring much enjoyment to some people, they can cause significant problems and fear for other people, especially those that have lived through a world war. Brings back unhappy memories for them and animals. They can be a source of fear and distress for many animals. Animals affected not only suffer psychological distress, but can also cause injuries, sometimes very serious ones, as they attempt to run away or hide from the noise. The unpredictable and high-intensity noise that many fireworks can make cause fear. There is a widespread public concern about the effect that fireworks can have on animals, and the RSPCA receives hundreds of calls about them every year. The peak months for calls are October, November, December, and January. The stats for these calls have gone up since 2013. On average, the RSPCA receives 400 calls relating to fireworks in England and Wales. We, together with our concerned residents and the RSPCA, therefore support measures which will help ensure people can enjoy fireworks responsibly while mitigating potentially significant animal welfare problems for pets, horses, farm animals, and wildlife. The main concerns about fireworks are their unpredictable nature and the noise levels, although type of noise and the audible frequencies may also be an important factor. In the case of fireworks, the sound of each individual firework may be relatively short in duration, but intense and unpredictable. The effect of sudden loud noises on wild animals are difficult to assess. The impacts will vary depending on the biology of each species, and physiological effects are often harder to measure than behavioral effects in animals in the wild. However, there is evidence that unpredictable loud noises do disturb wild animals, both free-living and captive. While little research has been carried out into the effects of fireworks on captive animals, there is evidence that the RSPCA has, which confirms that fireworks events can cause stress to animals. They advocate adopting the precautionary principle to avoid the potential of causing harm. I'm aware of the policies that Hillingdon Council has with regards to fireworks licenses available to small, large and wholesale retailers. I'm also aware of the exemptions which apply to types of storage of fireworks, etc., which still require the respective dispensers of fireworks to comply with the safety requirements in the regulations concerning fire prevention and control. There is also a range of legislation regulating the sale, display and safety of fireworks, the Fireworks Act 2003 and the Fireworks Regulations 2004 are the main pieces concerned with regulating fireworks usage in England, Scotland and Wales. Whilst these acts aim to reduce the noise, nuisance and injuries caused by the misuse of fireworks, there is still an issue that resonates with the public and thousands of RSPCA supporters that the wider public would have significant concerns about fireworks. An e-petition was signed by over 113,000 people in 2018, calling for tighter regulation on fireworks. Another petition in 2018 on the same subject was supported by over 330,000 signatures. The petition saw a number of debates within Westminster. It is clear from the information available that fireworks can impact negatively on animals as well as people. We and the RSPCA believe the law is failing as it does not prevent or reduce the risk of fireworks causing distress or anxiety to people, or death, injury or distress to animals. We believe that updating the law would improve the situation for both animals and people.
Half a minute left, Councillor.
Okay. Tighter restrictions on the sale of fireworks in the run-up to 5th of November at present. Fireworks can be sold from 15th of October to the 10th of November. Although some of the asks from the RSPCA are beyond the control of the Council, I believe the Council can resolve to ask officers to explore how public firework displays within the local authority boundaries could be advertised in advance of the event, to actively promote a public awareness campaign about the impact of fireworks on animals. And
Councillor McMahon, you have run out of time. Could you please move your motion?
Thank you. I therefore fully support and move this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Dott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We all are aware about the dangerous effects of fireworks on humans, animals, and on the environment. They all are nice to look at, but there are some environment and other prices to pay. Fireworks have detrimental effects on the people with underlying medical conditions, as they call multiple illnesses. Fireworks-related incidents put extra strain on our emergency services. As per NHS digital statistics, there were 6,800 A&E visits recorded across England for fireworks-related injuries from 2017 to 2020. More than 35,000 people sought advice from the NHS on how to treat burns, and almost 2,000 people attended A&Es linked to fire incidents within October and November month in 2019. Loud noise from fireworks are extremely stressful and frightening for animals too, as their hearing is much more sensitive than humans. Not only that, fireworks are also linked to animal cruelty. I would like to share some examples of animal cruelty where a cat was killed in South Yorkshire when a fireworks was attached to him and lit. Another example where a burnt body of a cat was found strapped to a fireworks in Wales. RSPCA declared that they have received approximately 2,300 calls related with fireworks in last 5 years. Fireworks also have potential to distract and endanger their aircraft during flight operations. In recent years, serious firework incidents happened around UK airports. About 25% of them occurred around Heathrow. With reference to Civil Aviation Authority's fireworks occurrence summary report, there were 24 fireworks-related incidents occurred within last 6 years. 10 were related to fireworks being launched near active airports, and 6 to aircraft being directly targeted by fireworks. Although no injuries reported linked to those incidents, but anything major could happen. I have seen the fireworks law has not been enforced in Hillingdon effectively, as I have witnessed myself where fireworks have gone on for all hours of the night. Madam Mayor, this motion is for the well-being of everyone, and I hope all of my councillor colleagues from both parties will support this motion. I second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dott. We will now continue the debate, and I go to Councillor Allen as one of the first speakers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We sit here tonight to debate a motion that we all hope that something can be done to alleviate the suffering of animals and humans because of the vibration and noise of the fireworks. Some think fireworks are just fun events. I can assure you they're not. Dogs, cats have an exact opposite feel of what's going on. Having witnessed firsthand the stress and seen an animal fearful, agitated, not knowing which way to run, to hide, is very stressful. Put yourself in the shoes of an elderly resident or a vulnerable resident whose pet is the only source of comfort, witnessing their pet behaving erratically and not being able to calm them. Add to this the trauma that goes on for days and days. We, for our part, are not asking for a total ban. We are requesting that fireworks be at a decibel point of 90 decibels. Firework night should be a time of celebration, a time that all can enjoy, a splash of colour in the dark sky, bringing a lot of hope, especially now. It should certainly not resemble a battlefield that elderly residents, the vulnerable and the animals have to live with. Tonight we can, by agreeing this motion, be part of the solution. Please support this motion if you truly care about bringing an end to animal suffering and elderly and vulnerable suffering. Show the residents you care. I was going to go on to the atmosphere, the pollution, but I'll leave that for another occasion. And I'm sorry, I've got a sore throat today, so you're probably welcoming that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Prince.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know that many people enjoy fireworks. They can brighten up a gloomy winter night. I have fond memories of being a child and holding a sparkler in my hand whilst fireworks went off up into the sky. But I did not know then what I know now. I did not know the severe impact that these loud explosions would cause on animals, on older people, on those who struggle with their mental health. I have now seen animals shake for hours, visibly shake, because they cannot understand what these loud explosions are and are terrified. I've seen older people flinch every time a firework is let off, often causing them to be up late at night, causing further health issues. I have personally experienced the panic attacks that these continuous explosions outside my window are causing because I'm already overwhelmed with anxiety and I can't control my physical nervous reaction to extremely loud noises. If I knew as a child what I know now, I probably wouldn't have thought fireworks were so great. Fireworks are loved by many and I do not want to see them taken away, but I do want them to be better regulated, so that people and animals don't have to experience the distress for what seems like every single night in Hillingdon. This isn't an unreasonable motion. It takes some important steps to assure residents that we are aware that this has become a nuisance and that we will do something about it. I hope all councillors will vote for this motion tonight and show vulnerable residents that we are on their side. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prince. Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Lakmana, for this motion. It's a great pleasure to see you and see you taking part in council business again, and I'm glad you're back. I have a great deal of respect for you. We've worked on many projects in the past. However, the Conservative group will not be supporting this motion this evening because we believe it to be unnecessary. This administration and this council has a proven track record of caring for our vulnerable people, our pets and our animals due to pyrotechnical interventions. We are great supporters of the RSPCA and other animal charities. Indeed, we are proud to have the Dogs Trust in our borough and supply to them the year-end duvets from our local student population so that our yet-to-be homed dogs have soft bedding to use. Madam Mayor, I had hoped to start my cabinet career with something of a oration starburst, but responding to this motion is where we are. With so many issues at present on the public agenda, it is a pity Labour have gone with this, concerning though it is, especially in view of the recent, I understand, £2.3 million spent by the London Mayor, where he chose to waste on New Year's Eve fireworks when no one was allowed out. It is for others to judge the effect of his overtly political use of this occasion when spending public money to this level. But as ever, Madam Mayor, in Hillingdon, we do it right. We take our responsibilities in this regard very seriously with a range of commitments. And I emphasise that these are things that the council can do and do already. Trading Standards Team, they enforce safe storage and safety compliant fireworks for sale, ensuring rigorous standards for those licensed to sell fireworks and also undertake unannounced inspections. We investigate and respond robustly to all reports of noise and other nuisance from fireworks via our antisocial behaviour teams. There are specific times for the deployment of fireworks. Outside those times is a criminal offence to use fireworks anywhere. The fireworks season is now extended. It seems to run from September to January. And during peak times, we have 2 teams of officers working
you have half a minute left, Councillor.
Working out of hours to manage issues and problems. We do it right in this borough, Madam Mayor. In regard to fireworks safety and every other aspect of our responsibilities, we put our residents first, whether they have 2 legs or 4, and we will continue to meet those high standards with due regard to everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Councillor Lakmana, you have your right to reply now.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Councillor Riley for his kind words that he said about me. I've thoroughly enjoyed the projects that we've worked on together. In respect of this motion, I and my fellow councillors within the Labour group are disappointed that the motion has not been supported. I fully understand that the council doesn't have the power to change the law, but the initiative to write to the government seeking changes would have been welcomed by the residents as well as the RSPCA. The council, on the other hand, could have pledged to revisit the policies in Hillingdon and see what can be done to make things better for all living beings within our borough. I thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. So I'm now going to call on the vote. And I will start with the Leader of the Council, Councillor Edwards, on behalf of the Conservative Group. How do you vote on the motion?
Madam Mayor, the Conservative Group votes against the motion.
Okay, thank you. Leader of the Labour Group, Councillor Curling, on behalf of the Labour Group, how do you vote on the motion?
Madam Mayor, the Labour Group votes in favour of the motion.
Thank you. Are there any other members who wish to vote differently from their group leaders? If so, please indicate now. The motion is lost. End of the item. And that brings us to the end of the ordinary full council meeting. The next time we meet will be at the budget budget setting of the full council on the 25th of February 2021. I would just like to remind you all to keep yourself muted as you are leaving the meeting, because a live stream is still recording, and stay safe. Thank you, and meeting closed.